You're rolling.
All right. Call to order the Urban Type Facility Board, March the 13th, 2025. And you do have a set of minutes in front of you.
Motion approved.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone here to speak for the Solid Waste Board today? Seeing nobody. Legal report, Mayor Jennings.
Don't have anything, Mike.
I like it.
Ms. Cindy Lynch, Solid Waste report.
All right, everybody's got a copy of the solid waste report in front of you. The second page is the landfill activity report. You can see what we brought in for the month of February. Fiscal year to date, we're up about 361,000 for the year. The next page, collections and hauling report. We hauled a little bit less to Smith County from the same time last year, but I would attribute that to the weather events. The next page, recycling report. We were down about 33 tons and down about $4,000 in revenue. But the metal prices and the paper prices are going up, so it should be increased in the next month or so. Pulled from the convenience center, the next page, we pulled 373 loads from all 7 of the convenience centers for the month of February. And I don't have anything else unless you have some questions.
Spring cleanup. Pass that through.
I do. I've got the City of Lebanon would like for us to take care of the spring cleanup March 30th or April 11th. There should be a letter attached to the back.
Is there a motion on that?
Don't move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anything else, Ms. Cindy?
I don't have anything else unless you have questions.
I got one question.
All right.
Okay.
Nashville's problem, is it spilling over?
It
Is
is.
it hurting us?
It is. Sumner County's problem's hurting us worse than Nashville, honestly.
Rutherford?
Rutherford's will. It will eventually, it will be there.
I got a question, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I talked to Steve a little bit about it, just talking bench racing, I guess you'd say. Like if we talked about if we could ever find some land, we'd put another convenience center out towards like the Lakeview area, anywhere like that. If we ever did something like that, could we have enough land to maybe put Steve a little salt? Sure. I always thought that'd help him out in that area. You know, we have bad roads. Maybe he had a little area he could put some salt, maybe a store.
Yep.
But I just like to throw that out there. If we wish we could do something or find something. I know the land's the thing, but
And there's an option there. Here's another option that we are working at. There's an opportunity for a $6 million grant that we've looked at. And it's money that is allocated for the county based on money that came from the tornado back in 2020. And we're looking to take that money and apply for it and rebuild the LaGuardia station. And in doing so, to be able to qualify for the grant, we're doing that so that we can stage major equipment on the west side of the county for disasters. Because the last time we had a disaster, everything was in the middle, and we couldn't get that signed, so that's a justification to be able to use the $6 million to do that. So there could be a possibility there of a staging place too if this doesn't work out. I don't know that for a fact, but that is definitely something that we've been working on trying to get it. If we get it, we'll definitely bring it to you guys.
You talking about the what station?
The LaGuardia station on 109, and we wouldn't go back there. We'd go to a different spot.
Oh, the LaGuardia station, the
Weemus,
recycling.
not Weemus station.
Okay.
So we're talking about a Weemus station.
Well, we bought that up, and I think this is probably not the committee, but we bought that up the other night. Wouldn't that be a prime piece of property to sell? Because that's a bad spot.
Yeah, and so we have, the first thing that was allocated, if you remember, we were going to go to the school site, but we felt like that's going to be too congested.
Yeah.
So he's got 3 other spots that we would look at. Again, nothing to talk about until we get the grant, until we get approval for that. When we get approval for that, we can do that, but that's how we're going to do
Is
that.
that
So
piece
that's
of property
important.
that it's sitting on is,
So then that property you got there, yeah, you could sell that and help pay for whatever. Yeah, that'd be good.
well, I'm just, in my thinking too, is like, I know like Commissioner Breeze calls, and she's got some areas, and even like Christina, they have to come all the way back up here to get salt.
Yeah.
Take it all the way back. It'd kind of help
Yeah.
in that area, Bobby's area.
Yeah.
There's enough property behind the Suggs Creek Convenience Center on Stewart's Red Pike. If they wanted to put a salt shed back there and put them a fence, and they're welcome to lock up their equipment any time. at the convenience center.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so there's enough property for that,
Put
Yeah,
that
but
on
that's
if
on
they're
the wrong-
interested.
Wrong side of Mount Juliet.
But it's better than having to come all the way, some help.
Let me warn you about getting too close to the west end of Mount Juliet. With convenience centers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nashville's coming.
yes. I mean, they're already coming.
They are coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? You can put it on the agenda next month, see if there's anything we can do that. All right, anything else? Is there a motion to approve the report? All in favor, say aye. New business, old business, stormwater delegation, you want to speak here for the stormwater? Stormwater report, Mr. James Baker.
Sorry, Michael's gonna handle it.
He talks too much, I don't like Michael up here. I'll never get out, I want to go to lunch today. And Lisa definitely talks too much. I will take just a second to brag on Mr. Bailey. We have several issues that come up, and I know this board, not only does the road commission, but they also do the solid waste, the trash, and they also do stormwater, and so thank you for that. But he does a great job, for us. We have several complaints, just like, I know he's been helping Mr. Rodney and Mr. Patricia today, but we had a couple yesterday that had an issue, and, found a way to kind of work things out. So, Mr. Bailey, just publicly, I thank you for what you do to try to stay within the law, and work out issues.
Appreciate it. You guys can see your stormwater report numbers. We are starting to slow down a little bit, compared to last March. I think we were running about 160 last March, and you can see the numbers. We are down a few on this. Moving on down to the work summary. We did participate in the Builders Expo. We had over 300 people stop by the stormwater booth. We were able to share pass outs and plenty of good stormwater information. We had 209 people that filled out for a chance to win the gift cards that we give away to pull people in there. The Tennessee Tree Day that we're supposed to have next week has been postponed to March the 28th, and that's because of the weather. But we'll have trees, and I believe you guys have your tree list in your package, so if anybody in here that would like some free trees, please send them to Stormwater. That's all I have on our report, but just for discussion briefly, I wanted to give you some information on what you guys might be seeing next month. And what we're doing, this has to do with plats that are over 5 acres that are not reviewed by Stormwater or the planning. And I had asked Tom in the past why this wasn't happening. He had always told me that a person has a legal right to do something by deed, and it goes back to the survey law. But at the county, we do not let people do things by deed. We require a plat for a subdivision. And so what we're running into, and Stormwater is running into, is these critical lots. So we evaluate all lots under 5 acres, or if it's part of a subdivision plan. We have a chance to evaluate that site. Where's the blue line streams? Where's the buffer? Does the people got to put a bridge in? And we can lay out what whoever buys that lot needs to do from Stormwater. For example, if they are putting in a bridge, well, you get in a permit from TDEC. It's called the ARAP, Aquatic Resource Alteration Permit. They'll issue it to anybody that applies. They don't look at what size bridge, if you're building a bridge, or storm drains, putting it in, they do not size culverts. They put that back on us. That's called the technical review requirement, and it's found in our NPDS program, our National Discharge Eliminating System. That's our program that we signed up to. In it, it details that we're supposed to be finding the features. Where's the spring house? Where's the flat? If you're under 1% slope, you could flood if it rains real hard because it don't have enough grade. Where's the steep slopes? If you're over a 20% slope, that's a critical lot. You go up to the Smoky Mountains, all those houses are on piers. that requires some engineering work. You gotta build a drive up the mountain. You know, if you're building ditches and you're dropping 400 foot of elevation, the power of the water when it gets to the bottom is gonna move boulders, you know, because it's gonna pick up energy as it goes downhill. An engineered plan addresses each one of those items. Where's the graveyards on these sites? The Historic Preservation Act, we need to know. Right now, we don't know. When somebody buys a lot over 5 acres, and we've got a lot of examples, they get upset with stormwater because they get their ARAP and then they come to me and I have to tell them they gotta get engineered to tell us what size culverts go in that creek. Because if you put undersized drains in, they get blowed out when you have a 100-year storm event. It impacts the waterway. So getting that engineer to size the pipe and tell us what needs to go in there to carry a 25-year storm event. Now that number is typically what is carried between the creek channel. That's a bank, and that's the width. You can usually fit a 25-year storm event between the channels of the creek. The water that's moving parallel, that's flood way. It's moving water. Nothing's ever built there. Extend out, you got the floodplain. We allow people to build in the floodplain. Why, I don't know, but we do. There's some requirements. You gotta do an equalization plan. If you're filling in the floodplain, you gotta take out that amount because you don't wanna force the water on the other side. When somebody buys these lots, a lot of time, it's a Zone X. Zone X means it's not been studied. Nobody's looked at it. It's an area of minimum hazard. It's got a creek, and we know that it's gonna have a moving water parallel and it's gonna have a floodplain, but it's on no maps. So I have to tell that owner, you gotta do a flood study. Cost them money. They're not happy. They would have known it if we had had a chance to review it. Over 5 acres. Now, I don't wanna ask that a boundary survey, if somebody boundary survey his farm, do we need a site assessment for his boundary? No. When we need the site assessment is the moment they subdivide that farm. Common plan of development. It's now going to be a subdivision. That's the mechanism that says, surveyor, you've got to pick up the streams, you got to show the buffers. We need to show those steep slopes. We need to check the Historical Preservation Act. Where are the old graveyards? Half of them aren't shown on the map. Somebody needs to look. You know, something else that slips through the cracks, the Endangered Species Act. We've got to do that. We're not getting a chance if they're over 5 acres. The realtor, he's going to pull up and take out all the fences, and he's going to try to remove as many trees as he wants so he can make it appealing for the auction. We go out after the auction 5 years down the road when they've removed the trees, and we're giving trees back to try to stop the erosion that's happened from the loss of the fauna and the flora along the buffer. So I said all this to say that I'm going to email you something, and I didn't do it today because I need to get this advertised and on the agenda. But you guys need to study this real hard and think about all the people that are moving here, that are buying these lots. We've got an auction next week. I heard Jay on the radio talking about it. Go out there and look. It's 6 or 7 lots on Canesville. It had a blue line stream that is mulched. Every tree on it's gone. If you stand at the property line and you look here, you've got creek channel, minnows, crawdaddies, the stuff that supports aquatic life that classifies it as a blue line stream is there. When I turn around and look at the other way, there's not a tree up there for 400 feet. Everything's been mulched. We should have had an HD, that's a hydraulic determination. Where does the waters of the state start and stop? What needs protecting? That wasn't done. They're 5.02 acres. Stormwater don't have a signature on there. When they buy it, they're gonna be critical lots because they gotta cross that stream. So that's where I'm at.
Does the county have the authority to put a signature on the plat? Can we put a stormwater signature on the plat?
I don't
'Cause that's the
think-
only place you can catch it.
Yeah, I think you talk about it, his responsibility doesn't trigger until we get that planting done.
Yeah, that's my mechanism to
Yeah.
go out there, so.
Is there any education that ever happens on the federal government side, or the state side to realtors?
I have done some outreach to the realtors. I don't know that the federal government does any outreach as far as education on environmental laws. That's one of our target audiences,
Yeah.
realties. We gotta, now,
They probably don't really care maybe a ton of what I think, but they might care what the state thinks.
yeah, and they want, the realty people are not gonna be happy if this passes, because it's gonna cost them money. When they, you can call TDEC, and realty people, developers don't do this. They should, but I know why they don't. You can pick up the phone, you can call TDEC, and you say, hey, I need HD, it's gonna cost you a dime. They'll come out there and do it free. It's gonna be a detailed HD. Or you can be the owner of the developer, and you can call your own person that's certified. They practice that, they're allowed to do it. They send that information to TDEC. TDEC sends me a letter, it's a letter of concurrence. I agree with this site assessment. That takes 8, 9 months to get that done. Whereas if you call TDEC, they'll be there in 10 days. Nobody utilizes that. Why? Because TDEC is gonna show every wetland out there, and they're gonna delineate thoroughly. And now I can't say, I'm not gonna say that somebody's doing a lesser of a job, but if you're working for a client and you want to represent your client and save them as much money, and land is dollars. Square footage wetlands cost people money because they can't develop wetlands. Buffer zones on streams. The state says if you're over a square mile, it needs to be a 60-foot buffer. A 60-foot buffer away from the stream, that's a new do not disturb, do not remove the trees, do not develop zone. 60 foot from the creek is, to the developer, that's more land that you're taking away from me. And then when I tell them, minimum pads, we got minimum pads, you guys said it, it's great, because I know that that's gonna save people money when we have a 100-year flood. If you're building in the floodplain and you're 1 foot above, which is you guys' policy that we adopted, which is great, and then we say, well, your FFE is gonna be 2 foot above. What does that protect you against? Your protected calculations show us that we're protecting you through a 100-year storm event. What are we having here? We're having 1,200, 1,500-year storm events more frequently. The Corps will tell you that we got a 1% chance that we can have a 100-year storm event any day of the year. That's the data, historical data. James Baden says throw that data out the window. Look at data since 2000 to 2025. The 2010 storm event changed the numbers for the rain events that we have now. Every time you have a bigger rain event, and we are, that changes the historical, because they do an average from the first data that's ever been captured. And that's what we design, that's what engineers design by. My thought is, look at the last 25 years. What's happening now is what you should be designing for. That standard went way up because the engineers talk to them. They all know this. The numbers that you're given, that overall average, is way less than what's generated from a 100-year storm event today. And so when you see numbers like what happened in March of 21 in Waverly, right down the road from us, they had 21 inches in one rain event. That was more than Helena dumped and caused all the damage up there in the Carolinas. And we had it happen right here in Tennessee. It wasn't a hurricane-driven storm, but it was a single cell that produced 21.5 inches at 2 gauges that were confirmed. That's more than has ever been recorded in a single rain event ever to fall in Tennessee or the whole Ohio Valley. But you don't hear people talking about that data. That's what stormwater's dealing with. Now, my main job is the quality. What's quality? What's in the water, and we want to protect it. Unfortunately, the other side of this, with the new development, I'm dealing with new construction, which is quantity issues, because we gotta protect these people that are buying lots, you know, so.
Well, let me ask you a question, a couple questions, when you say that. How long is this gonna prolong? Say that you go to the sale and, Saturday, and you buy one of those lots or whatever, how long is that gonna delay them from getting started, putting in their driveway?
Okay, so good example, I had Shop Springs. Let's see, the surveyor, Crockett Surveying, he did 16 lots out there. The 8 flag lots are all across the creek and up on the side of Jennings Knob. The front 8 lots were all under 5 acres. They're all on the front side of the creek. Every one of them are designated critical lots. None of the ones in the back are designated critical lots. Lot 1, flag lot, the couple bought it. They didn't have no note on there that said critical lot. They showed up out there and they want to put in, and I just happened to be out there doing inspections, when they pull up with a truck with 2 42-inch pipes to put in this creek. Now, I've got A-wraps for 4 other ones upstream. The engineers run the STAT program, designed it to carry the 25-year base flood safely past the 100-year, because we don't want these pipes washing out down the system with all that material. And so we got engineer design, we got these crossings, they're 372s, 372-inch culverts to carry a 25-year storm. Up there, it's 0.52 square miles of drainage basin. Lot 1 down here, I'm at 1 mile. It's 1 square mile of drainage basin. What's that mean in hydrology terms? You went from 500 CFS, cubic feet of second, to 1,000 cubic feet of second in a 100-year storm event. 72s won't work down here. You know, it's gonna have to be bigger. Good rule of thumb, if you go on the system, you will always see bigger storm drains as you come down. It's when you see these small ones that's stuck in the middle that cause problems. The state law, our sub-regs say that your bridge, your culverts cannot back up the water more than 1 foot. Stormwater law says you cannot cause damage to your neighbor by backing up the water. So if you put undersized drains, if they would have stuck those 42-inch drains in there, the first big rain event, 2 things were going to happen. Either they armored it well enough that it was going to back up the system and be out of bank, which changes your numbers for all these engineers that studied these lots and set these minimum finished floor elevations. It's based on that channel being open, carrying a 25-year storm. If you undersize this one spot, now it changes the dynamics on the flow rates all the way up the system until you get to the elevation that's above the top of the pipe. And so we got it tied down. Our sub-regs say you cannot change the base flood. You can't negatively impact your neighbor. Our sub-regs also have a lot of other language in there where we can ask for technical engineered data. I'll send you an email today, and I didn't want to send it before today because I didn't get it on the agenda. And we've been working on this all week, and timing is everything, but I've had 2 sites in the last 2 weeks that have been tracts that are over 5 acres that we did not review. And both of them subdivisions, everybody that's bought these tracts are finding out that they're critical lots. And the commissioners are going to get the calls, the mayor will get the call, and he's already met the Burnetts that weren't happy that bought lot 1. And, you know, I deal with this about once a month. You know, somebody's buying a lot that's over 5 acres that will have a blue line stream, Statesville, for instance. You know, that's the largest creek that we've got in the state of Tennessee. It's only a few feet from being classified as a river. And everybody that you know familiar with Statesville, you've seen what it did in 2010. Well, 2010, people say that's a historical rain event. I know the numbers. That was a 48-hour rain event that only produced 13 inches of rain in Wilson County. 2 days, 13 inches. Now, I mentioned an 8-hour, 21.5-inch rain. Can you imagine? I know what it would do. This Hatton, he gets the Hatton statue on the square. on average, will have water on his feet every 10 years. You can look at the data all the way back since he's been there. Average, every 10 years, the city has, Lebanon Square has flooded. When you see these net increases, and if we have that type of rain event, the city of Lebanon Square would be literally gone, folks. I'm telling you. We've only experienced a 13-inch rain, and we know what that did. And I was working for the city when that happened. I know what those rain events will produce, but we're dealing with some other animal moving forward. And by law, we can't control acts of God. That's what the judge would say. And we can't, but we can definitely try to protect these people
Let me ask you a question.
by showing the features.
What are you proposing, warning, I mean,
The goal, what's my goal?
developers kick the can, right? We know
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's in their model. But the only thing we can do as a legislative body is to make rules,
Yeah.
right? And so what rule can we make to alert potential people who are coming in from California, everywhere, don't know
Yeah.
anything about the terrain?
So-
You gotta get a signature on a plat, right?
Yes, sir. So, yep, so right now, anything by law, if it's under 5 acres, Christopher's gonna get a signature, I'm gonna get a signature, 911's gonna get a signature. There will be, WEMA, I think 911, WEMA, there's signature blocks for everybody if it's under 5 acres. Anything by over 5 acres, the surveyors are getting it recorded at the courthouse and are not getting a signature one on there.
Do we have the authority to change that?
That's what are you proposing?
And so what I'm proposing, we're gonna set up a plat checklist that will identify critical lots. And I'm gonna send you the package that I've already got prepared, which shows us, and it's gonna be some boundary survey notes on these critical lots. And this is,
So if you have anything over 5 acres, that critical lot, so you need to put a signature on it, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
and for us to know
What is our authority for doing that? I think a body's that.
Yeah, I mean, can we do it?
oh yeah, we have the legal, it's part of our
Does the
NPDS.
planning commission have to, the first step is the planning commission?
Yep, so, and I've been working closely with Christopher on this. So, we're not after the guy that's doing a boundary survey to have him show everything on his farm. If you're doing a boundary survey, that's fine. It's the moment that it becomes a subdivision, if you're doing a boundary, to do a splitting it off. Chris would have that, already know through the planning, that that's the intent.
And to go back to answer your question.
And so,
Because I was finna say,
I'm
I
sorry.
still got two questions.
I know,
The question you asked was, what is the time frame?
Be everything. It don't matter. if it's
Yeah,
critical or
I
not.
agree with Steve.
I think it ought to be everything.
Me too.
Everything, because who knows if it's critical?
That's
Until
right.
you look at it. I mean,
well, see, that's the designation. When I do an HD, when the HD's done, that says, hey, this is waters of the state. On the plat, I'm gonna have a note. You need an ARAP and a engineer design plan, a sizing of the pipe. If you're gonna put a bridge across it, I need a copy of the bridge plan to show that we're not impeding the 25-year storm event.
And all of that's good, but we've got to have the authority from somewhere to do
So,
it. And
back to
I
your
hope that's
point.
what you're saying.
And I'll get to it, I'm sorry, I'm just looking through my notes.
And while
So,
you look through your notes, I want to answer your question.
you answer Christopher's.
So
Christopher's.
the deal is, how much time is this gonna take? And that's what happened to the homeowners yesterday. They're ready to roll. They talked to somebody, said they can put 2 42-inch pipes. James goes by and says, hey, that's too small. There's 372s up the hill here, and you got 2 more creeks in here. And so now they had to pull those out. Luckily, they didn't put them in. And then go get an engineer to do all that. So it really cost them time. If he could have been in on the front end, he could have helped them and saved them. Now, if they would have got them in there before James come by, he wouldn't have said take them out. But down the line somewhere, it's gonna cost them money, and it's a city thing if we're gonna do it.
Yeah, okay,
so
but
it's
that's,
happening.
so down, okay, 72's up the hill, down the hill is 42, which should be bigger in its perspective, but they put the 42's in, but James is not gonna tell them to take them out.
Well, if they were already there, James wouldn't have told them to take them out at the time because.
They couldn't have subdivided
We don't
legally
have any, but we
until
don't
the
have,
signature.
I don't have any,
Yeah.
we have no jurisdiction.
No, right.
He was just trying to save them.
I got
Yeah,
it.
so what I told them, if they'd have put them in there, I hadn't come by and they put them in there, that would have been a civil suit between them and the neighbor.
Yeah.
Where it would have been an environmental concern would have been the first flood event. You can't block the flow, you're not carrying a 25-year, now you're gonna have material downstream. That's a
Right.
point source discharge from an unengineered plan.
All right, let me then answer my next question here.
How is
So
it?
when you come in and you do this and they call you out there and you catch all this stuff on the front end, and we're talking about taking out trees like you was talking about mulching a while ago, are you making them put trees back?
At this time, I'm not, because all I've done is my assessment of a
Right.
stream. I'm not the legal expert on what is a stream. I go out with the biologist, and sure, I can identify all the benthics, and I know what it takes to be a stream. So you have to meet the designated uses to be a blue line stream. Before it's auctioned, before it's ever cleared, we would have them tell us in the HD, is this ditch a blue line stream or is it a ditch?
Okay, so that gets back to my other point. Before they even put it on the market or open it up for auction or whatever, that's my point about mulching and all. You need to go in there first. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
so before that lot was ever created in a buildable lot, before it ever became a legal lot of record at the courthouse, it should have been reviewed by stormwater and the planning. This would have give them the information, what we need on a site assessment. And they hire, they don't go out and do it, you gotta be qualified. But they would have a certain group of people that would go free of charge if they call TDEC, or they'd call their own specialist. They'd go out there and they would do their assessment, and they would look to see, is that waters of the state? Just like if it's a wetland or a pond. People think a farm pond is their pond. If it's connected to a creek and it has flow, it ain't a farm pond anymore, not according to TDEC. It's part of waters of the state. Even though it's on the middle of your farm and you built it 50 years ago, if it's connected to that stream and the bugs that are in there can go up and down into the pond and back and forth, that's the designated use. You know, the
So
benthics
you
is.
gonna need any more help to get all
So
this done?
if all I need is the requirement for the stormwater signature to be on lots over 5 acres. Now, what I'm gonna send you
That's what we're
is
trying to get to.
the legal, I'm gonna send, and I broke it all down, and we'll get into it more next month, and you'll have it in front of you by the end of the day on your computers.
So you're gonna put this on the
And
agenda?
I've
for
already
next
sent
month?
it to Mike and the mayor this morning, but it has broke down everywhere in that NPDS permit that asks for technical support.
Okay,
It has everything from our subregs that's already on record that cover this. It's already part of, when she asked yesterday, and she said this wasn't included, I apologized because all I had to do was say, this came from our subregs. It was designed for subdivisions. She said this didn't include her, what I sent. Chris, give me that from the subregs, which is for subdivisions. It
That
definitely.
gives you the law in the background. The
Yeah.
MS4 is what allows them the authority to ask for that if this body approves it.
but I want to go back to what he started with, I think, and that, I think, is the threshold question. These people, and I've done it as an attorney for them, years ago, when I was in private practice, people came in and said, I don't want to pay a surveyor. How do I get around it? Well, you create your lots more than 5 acres. Yep. And that's the way you do it. How does that get fixed? That's the threshold
Yeah,
question. If
so-
we can require everybody that subdivides their property to have to come through and get approval of all of these things, then it shifts to us, and if we miss it, it's on us.
Yeah.
But right now, we don't have any authority.
And that's what I
You've got
thought.
31 acres, I can design you 6 lots there that'll never have to come before anybody.
The way it is right now, you
And I'm
can't.
not even a designer.
But what I want to do is close that loophole. And according to Christopher, who went to the regional planner 2 weeks ago, they talked about this extensively. And according to him, the loophole has been closed. If you're doing it by deed, you're right. We don't allow things done by deed. If you're a subdivision and you're gonna put it on the auction, we require a plat. That's the change.
So have we been breaking the law? I mean.
We have not been enforcing it. when you do those by deeds,
Stormwater law changed all the planning law.
when you did it by deed, you had that legal right, but now the county won't let you do it by deed. They want a plat. If you're subdividing, we wouldn't even let somebody do a 0.3 acre subdivision by deed for our roadway. We had to make them do a plat to show it.
We've always had to do a plat, except when you had lots more than 5 acres. Or even if you created, let's go back to my example, and I created 5 lots over 5 acres, but I left one of them that I wanted to keep myself at 4.5 acres. It's gotta be subdivided and go through.
Yeah.
But if it's all over 5,
You didn't have to.
we didn't have any authority. I didn't think, and that's what I've always been told.
The language
What
that
you're
caught
telling me
you
now
was
is I did.
this, common plan of development. That's the language. Anything part of a common plan of
And it is
development.
where, Jack.
And it's in our stormwater ordinance, it's in the NPDS permit, it's in the
Yeah.
general construction permit.
Good.
It's in all 3 places.
I'm with you. I wanna help you.
I know, and
But
I
I
appreciate
can't-
you.
but I can't
But that's the
tell you to do
catch-all.
something.
This
You
is
gotta
the
have the
You
catch-all.
gotta have a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
And I've had the deputy
Well-
director, Mr. Paul Davis, lives in Wilson County. He worked at I don't know, 20 years as the deputy director. He's told me personally, James Bay, you're not doing your job. I was like, what do you mean? Common plan of development. It's the first thing out of his mouth. Common plan of development. If it's a part of a common plan of development, you gotta do your site assessment. That's what
So,
he tells me.
but what do you want this
So-
board to do if it's
So-
already in our lingo and it's in our law?
Well, there's,
Yeah.
That's not on the agenda.
yeah, that's not on the agenda today,
But
but
I
for
mean,
discussion purposes, when you get your email, you're gonna see some new stormwater fees that's drafted. It's going from 37, we're just cleaning this up, like 37.75. We're asking for $50 per lot, so there will be some increase in here. And like these critical lots, when we get a critical lot plan, I send it to our engineering team, and we've got 3 of them that we keep on staff. That way, if I get a plan from one of those engineers, I'll send it to one of my other engineering teams to do the review, because we don't want any conflict of interest. And so we've got 3 engineers that we use for reviews. But when somebody gives us a critical lot plan, one of those lots at Shop Springs, got a critical lot plan. It's got the hydraulic calculations, it's got the minimum pad, it's showing the FFE. I gotta have somebody check those numbers, so I'll send it to an engineer. Those critical lot plans, I went back and looked. We're averaging about $290 that we pay for engineers to review somebody's critical lot plan that they submitted to us. We only get $37.50 per lot on those. So part of this change would be moving forward, when we get these designated critical lots, the plan review fee for those to create those lots, I've asked for $350 on that, because that would cover our cost to pay an engineer to review the plans. You guys have the authority to make that. I've just put the numbers out there, what we paid, what looking at the future might be, and I think $350 per critical lot would take care of the county for the cost that we pay. And by, I think by putting that back on the developer, the person that buys the lot, he's still gonna create the critical lot plan for his house unless the engineer goes ahead and does it in the subdivision. Create the minimum pads. Then we don't have to label it a critical lot, because I've already got the surveyor shot it, I know what the elevation is, we're coming out of the ground a foot above, I can see that. When they have to construct their own critical lot plan, then I have to get a survey out there to survey the pad. He'll shoot 4 corners, survey give us a certification that it's 1 foot above the minimum pad, and then he starts going vertical. All that is time.
You gonna
and
send
money.
it to us then?
Yes, sir.
Send it to us.
You heard
Take
enough.
it with you. I've done heard enough. I got to use the bathroom. I done heard so much about water.
Well, I've talked way more than I want to, but
You're out next week, Michael.
That's where to do it.
I hate to ask you a question. Anything
It's on there. It's on the
Hey.
3 guys back there.
I would be happy if I never got a call on a critical lot again. Trust me. Because this is, it's not fun. People don't want to hear from the stormwater. Stormwater costs people money. Unfortunately, I can't, there's a few people we give trees and they like us, but the developers do not like stormwater because everything we ask is gonna cost them money. HDs, site assessments, that's gonna cost them money. The J. Whites and the people that are selling these, that are making a killing, can pay that money to protect our resources. That's my opinion.
I do have one question, I'll make it short, but like, those people on that bought that lot you were talking about, they walked up and said, oh, this is beautiful, they had no clue about
They
it.
didn't even know because.
So
there
that's
was-
what's scary.
She
That's
said,
scary.
and to their defense, they weren't mad at stormwater, I don't think. They were mad at our process because that lot should have been, he said, you're right, it should have been a critical lot. Why wasn't it? And I had to say, well, I didn't get a chance to look at it because it's lots over 5 acres. And so that's what I'm
And they may
trying.
have walked away from it.
Well,
That's
or
what
bought
they
it
told
cheaper.
me, yeah, because the
Well,
bridge
yeah.
is $30,000.
Yeah, but you know exactly what where I'm at over on Lover's Lane, those 3 lots that they sold back in there.
Yeah.
And that.
Fill up,
and he-
it fills up,
And he made a killing off of it.
Yeah.
And then now one of them's for sale because he ain't got nowhere to build.
That, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's the one that's low, unless
Yeah.
somebody fills it up.
He don't have nowhere to
Chris, are you
build.
done, so we can go?
I am done, yeah, I am done. Dang.
Motion to adjourn.
Y'all